From the busiest streets to the widest avenues, these are the proverbial veins of our cities. They help take us from where we are and take us to where we want to go. But some of them can also take us back to where we've come from.
Matingkad ngayon ang campus ng UP Diliman sa Quezon City dahil sa mga
Tatay ko
sunflower.
nga po ang minsan nagsabi, iisa lang talaga ang pamantasan sa Pilipinas. UP lang raw to, wala nang iba.
Everyone, that every citizen in this country has rights and those rights should be protected.
The rule by law, working together, recognizing merit rather than using protection.
So I'm currently at the University of the Philippines Diliman campus, and we're here today to check out the University Avenue and the UP Oblation. Right, let's go. So we're coming up on the University Avenue. Right over there is the Oblation. Okay, so the University Avenue is a long stretch of road that connects Commonwealth Avenue, which is connected to the Elliptical Road, and Quezon Circle to the Academic Oval in UP Diliman. It's almost 1 kilometer long and perfectly straight, with 2 roads divided with 3 lanes each. Some points of interest are the 2 stone towers that stand opposite to each other in tribute to higher education by national artist Napoleon Abueva. In addition, there are also 2 statues entitled Contemplation and Captivity, both made from adobe by Ildefonso Marcelo in the 1960s. It also has this guardhouse and carabao horns. Supposedly, I don't really know what they are, but I call them waiting sheds. But nothing might be more iconic than what greets you at the end of the avenue, the Oblation statue by national artist Guillermo Tolentino. Our story begins way back when the Spanish sold the Philippines to the Americans for $20 million. And just like that, the Philippines became a U.S. colony. On June 18, 1908, the University of the Philippines, or UP, was founded through Act Number 1870 of the Philippine Assembly. The Americans wanted to set up a school in the image of their universities, and they wanted to show the Filipinos that America was modern and superior to the Spanish system. They would set up the first university along Padre Faura in Manila, which we now know as UP Manila today. In 1935, the Oblation was installed at the Manila campus. The artwork was originally commissioned by then UP President Rafael Palma. His order was to translate the second stanza of Dr. Jose P. Rizal's Mi Ultimo Adios. In barricades embattled, fighting with delirium, others donate you their lives without doubts, without gloom. The site doesn't matter. Cypress, laurel, or lily, gibbet or open field, combat or cruel martyrdom are equal if demanded by country and home. Heavy stuff, right? But wait, weren't we supposed to be talking about the University Avenue, and isn't that in Quezon City? Okay, don't worry, we're almost there. So on December 7, 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, but they also invaded Guam and the Philippines on the same day. Thus, the Second World War had reached Philippine shores. In the battle for Manila, some scholars still argue whether it was America who dropped more bombs and caused more destruction than the Japanese. But regardless, Manila was in ruins, including UP. A decision was made and UP was relocated with new buildings to Diliman, and the University Avenue was built to serve as a gateway to the University of the Filipino. On February 11, 1949, UP 40th Anniversary Committee Head, Dean Thomas S. Financier, led the transferring of the oblation from Padre Faura to Diliman. Anyway, back on topic. So yeah, you have this great long avenue and it's lined with sunflowers. A quick thing about those sunflowers. Did you know that it's a relatively new
Matingkad ngayon ang campus ng UP Diliman sa Quezon City dahil sa mga sunflower. Para sa mga iskolar ng bayan, simbolo ito hindi lang ng...
The sunflowers bloom during graduation season and has become part of the culture of UP graduates to pose and wait for the sunflowers to grow. The problem is, sunflowers grow in, wait for it, the sun. But back in 2014, UP changed its academic calendar to the one we have today, which also moved back the graduation. Some proposed making genetically modified sunflowers, but researchers argued it would take too long. Meanwhile, the gardening department in UP was like, well, we could just plant them later, and everyone else was like, yeah, that could work, but then what about the rain? Someone said maybe we could build a cover over it. Nah, too expensive. How about hundreds of umbrellas to cover all the sunflowers? Can you imagine that? They wanted to cover sunflower. Anyway, they figured it out, and every year the sunflowers grow along the University Avenue. I could talk more about these sunflowers, but that's for another video. I'm standing outside UP Diliman, but I cannot enter because it is barricaded. It's barricaded because of the COVID isolation facility that's inside, but it's strange to think that over 50 years ago, this same road was barricaded for a very different reason. In 1971, for 9 days in February, the University Avenue was barricaded along with the rest of the UP Diliman campus in what we now know as the Diliman Commune. Inspired by the French revolutionaries, these students started making barricades using school chairs, logs, branches, and anything else they could get their hands on. They declared it a free autonomous zone, which they called Malayang Komunidad ng UP Diliman. The last week of January 1971 marked the first anniversary of the historic first quarter storm. It's so crazy to imagine that over 50 years ago, students barricaded themselves in this university and declared themselves basically a new country. But these barricades, they came at a cost that one student paid for with his life. One of these students at the barricade was Sonny Messina, who earlier was invited by his friends to see a movie, but instead attended a protest march that proceeded to the University Avenue. And then, without warning, a mathematics professor named Inocente Campos, who was known to be for Marcos and against the protesters, brought out a rifle and started shooting at the students. He shot where CP Garcia intersection is today. Sonny fell to the ground, bleeding, and 3 days later, he succumbed to his injuries. As the outrage in the university spread, the government sent in soldiers and helicopters. Sonny and the Diliman Commune would always be linked together in history, with Messina earning the honor of being considered UP Diliman's first martyr. He is remembered today by a small plaque that sits in the middle of the avenue, and his name and plaque barely visible to most people. You literally have to cross the road to see it. I didn't even know it was there until I looked for it through the history books and found it. This year, 50 years after the events of the Diliman Commune, Toyn Imao created a tribute art installment in the style of the Diliman Commune. The art installment was originally going to be placed near the plaque commemorating the Diliman Commune, but was moved closer to the oblation statue. The reasoning? Ironically, because it would block the road. There are also plans to set up a Freedom Memorial Museum along CP Garcia, which will be the Philippines' first martial law museum using funds recovered from the stolen Marcos wealth. From the University Avenue, this museum will look like a fist clenched in protest, with a design that the architects call the Fall of Brutal. As for the University Avenue, there are still protests here and there, though not as large. There are still decorations and graduations, but no students on campus. And the sunflowers still grow. The University Avenue is more than just a road. It's a gateway to our past, future, and present as a scholar ng bayan.